Hello. Today I will be returning with a ranked analysis, this time featuring the Shiratsuyu. Now, first of all, the map is Trident, and the enemy has a Belfast, which means of course they have a radar, whereas we have a Pensacola, which obviously means no radar. Because of this obvious radar discrepancy, I instantly tell my team that we should go to B instead of going to A. The close range fights at A and in general all the land cover that you can get at A really favors any sort of radar usage. In general on this map, if you have a radar advantage, meaning more radars and such, you should focus on A because you can get very close with ships with radar without even being spotted, and you can catch people off guard completely using this radar. So on this map, of course, if you got less brawlers, more long-range damage dealers, or something like a Pensacola or no radars, then go B, as I suggest for my team. Of course, second of all, your job as a Shiratsuyu. Early game, your job is absolutely to scout. Leningrad, Mayhem, they can go to the cap point, they can go and contest and so forth, but what I'm doing here is I'm trying to scout for my team and get as much information as possible. I spot the enemy Shiratsuyu, I make the mistake of shooting in front of him because, well, I expect him to instantly start accelerating when he's spotted so he doesn't get killed, but surprisingly he stops, so I guess reflexes were pretty slow. That really strange move allows him to avoid any sort of damage though. Now in this case I take some damage because they obviously all focus me, but I know I'm about to get undetected, and unlike them who are smoking, I choose not to smoke because I don't want to first of all, I don't want to waste a consumable. Second of all, I don't want to deny my team any sort of scouting. In fact, in general, you should avoid smoking because you're the main scout, and this is a huge no-no. This is a huge. What this Akatsuki is doing is a massive no-no. He almost team kills me, and he almost team kills the Mayhem as well. You saw how close that was on the Mayhem. You should never torp from behind your friendlies. That was almost a double team kill. Absolutely do not do that. And he does it again. I mean, I was about to accelerate, and if I had accelerated as normal, I would have eaten these torps. It's only because I knew now to keep an eye out for this dude that I stopped in time. Absolutely do not do this ever. Do not torp from behind friendlies. Especially not when there's a lot of DDs. Like this game, they have 4 DDs, we have 4 DDs. It's going to be a torpedo soup, a lot of keeping track of enemy movements, and you don't want to constrain friendly movement by torping from behind friendlies. That is extremely risky and usually not worth it at all, especially since his torps were just random spam torps into the smoke with no real goal. So just never ever do that kind of thing. That's a hard no. Second, of course, second example of things being done wrong. First of all, the Fiji is kind of leading the front line here, which is not good. He should let us, the DDs, do the scouting. And the Gneisenau is also very much in the front line. Once again, no. Or there's absolutely no reason for this. They are both taking a completely unnecessary amount of damage for no reason whatsoever. You noticed, by the way, that I blew my torpedo consumable. That's because I knew there were ships in this smoke, and I knew there was a high chance of landing some torps, so I decided this was a good time to use my consumable and basically flood the waters with torpedoes and hopefully score a hit on something. Turns out the Fiji is being herded by all my torpedoes until he is no longer able to dodge, and he does hit one, which grants us first blood. This is an advantage, but we are already at a bit of a disadvantage here, mostly because, well, our Gneisenau has lost almost all his HP by very, very poor maneuvering. He should be somewhere around the B cap. In general, when you're a battleship, and there are many DDs, use your DDs as these spotters, not just spotters of enemies, but also early warning systems of incoming torpedoes, all these things. You should never be on the front. You should never be in the front line. I call target on the Mayhem that I spot, but I get radared there. I get radared, so I know I'm just gonna drop my torps towards where I expect the Belfast to be based on where I've last spotted him, and I smoke up and start moving away. At this point, the radar of course is still spotting me, but I need to get away, and I'm hoping that the radar range shouldn't be that long, considering he should be fairly deep in the cap, so I can use the smoke to disappear. And I am able to fade away here. And our Gneisenau, of course, gets killed, because that's what happens when you are the front line. You can't go front line against 4 DDs. That's very, very basic stuff. And I would say it's very, very basic stuff, but this is like rank 7, rank 6 or something like that, and people are still doing these things. Regardless, back to my own role as a DD. As a Shiratsuyu, of course, my main job is to scout. I tell in chat, help with their DDs, please, Lenin and Mayhem. Of course, a Leningrad and Mayhem should be sailing behind me. That's their optimal positioning. You, as a Shiratsuyu, you're not the main gunboat, but the Shiratsuyu does have the best concealment out of all the DDs. So that means if they understand the Wolfpack behind me, they can use my superior concealment to help them spot the enemies, and then they use their gunpowder to get the kill. In general, in multiple DD versus multiple DD fights, you should... oh no. And the Pensacola was... he stayed behind there, I don't know why. In general, cruisers try to stick with the DDs. If you're left alone like that, especially in Pensacola, who maybe might not even have hydro, you're just too vulnerable. You can't just sit around there all on your lonesome. And another issue is of course this Akatsuki. First of all, flanking maneuvers in a DD, extremely risky. The enemy has RPF, as has already been shown, so that means any sort of flanking maneuvers can and will probably be heavily punished. Second of all, the enemy has multiple DDs, which means if the enemy DDs understand to work together, they can easily hunt him down and kill him. And third, and most importantly, they have a Belfast, and Belfast can radar and help hunt you down. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that this is already what we're seeing right now. The Belfast and the Akatsuki are both going for him. I assume it's with the help of RPF, or maybe he got radared earlier. I don't know, but they are already moving to hunt him down, and that's something that you should expect to happen. Do not run off alone. Don't go for those wild flanking maneuvers. It's impossible for us to help him. There's no way we can help him. He's already pretty much dead in our books. Now, those torps, the Gneisenau, he might turn in towards us, so the torps might hit him. Or alternatively, all these DDs that we're chasing down in the smoke, they will most likely turn towards, you see where this Mayhem is turning, they will most likely turn that way. So these are dual purpose torps. I have a good chance of hitting the Gneisenau, and I have a possibility of hitting one of their DDs that are fleeing from us. It's kind of like cutting them in the side. And I do get lucky, and I manage to nail one of the Shiratsuyus as they attempt to flee. So that's so far a good thing. Now the Leningrad needs to be careful and not get too deep in here, because unlike random battles where you can kind of smoke up and start firing and the enemy team will turn around and flee, in ranked battles people often try to punish that thing. They try to rush you in your smoke and get you killed. And as you can see on the north, the Belfast is hunting down our Akatsuki, and our Akatsuki, instead of start fleeing towards us or somewhere, he's fleeing north. Well, he was kind of cut off by the Belfast, so he's going to get cornered and killed, absolutely guaranteed. In fact, I see no way of him surviving. So that flanking maneuver is heavily punished. Leningrad, he's pushing the charge far too much here. He gets spotted, and I think they're going to hunt him down. So I try to bail him out with torpedoes, but at this point he should be turning around and fleeing. Because the problem with sitting in the smoke and hoping that you'll be able to kill someone who's rushing you is that you need to land the torps 100% guaranteed, and if they dodge the torps, you die. So I'm trying to help him out here. I pop my torpedo consumable because I see that these are going to miss, and I launch my second volley a bit closer because, well, usually when they see one volley they think they're safe, but the second volley tends to catch them off guard. That's of course one of the strengths of the Shiratsuyu, and I'm using of course the terrain to my advantage to help him out. And my torps in fact look fairly good here. But the Leningrad, he loses his patience. I don't know if he's not paying attention to me or my torps, but he loses his patience and charges out of the smoke. So instead of us being in a 2v1 fight against this Mayhem now, he gets himself killed, which is highly unfortunate. And 1v1 versus Mayhem, I can't win this fight. There's no point even attempting. I just pop my heat. I'm just gonna pop my repair and get out of here, because a Mayhem 1v1 just beats me easily. He's a gunboat. I'm not gonna take that fight. And the Akatsuki of North has of course gotten killed. So this is unfortunate. The Fiji would ideally be sailing behind us and following us. Follow your DDs. You cannot get torped and you cannot get outspotted by DDs if you're following your DDs, because the DDs do the spotting and they spot the torps for you. So when I say follow your DDs, it's not for the sake of just helping your DDs, you also help yourself. You tend to have better games if you play with your DDs because, well, tada, you're protected from torps, you're protected from danger, and you can get help. It's easier to helpfully smoke you up in case you don't have your own smoke. There are so many advantages of playing with your DDs, whereas sitting alone in the cap just leaves you as a target. Belfast pops his radar, so I start turning away. But I know they're all on the other side of the island, so I'm not really too scared. I'm just exchanging some fire with this Mayhem. I'm hoping my Mayhem will help me out as well and shoot him. But overall, 1 versus 1 against the Mayhem at this range isn't nearly as dangerous as closer range. And of course, see, that's one of the issues. The Fiji was all alone, the radar, of course. The Akatsuki probably spotted the Fiji for the Belfast, and then the Belfast knew when to radar and pick him off. And that's exactly what happens when you're all alone. If he would have been with us, we could have been able to outspot anyone trying to spot him, and so forth and so forth. So overall, most of the deaths on my team this game have been people not relying on teamwork at all. In fact, people not relying on the advantages that supporting your DDs can give, and in fact playing safe and letting the DDs do the dirty work, doing the scouting and so forth for them. Mayhem is running once again off alone. I don't like this. I'm telling him that they are coming south and he should watch out. He's all alone. Once again, we know they run RPF. Mayhem all alone down here. He's probably gonna get... He risks being hunted out, so I turn around to help him. I don't know why my team is so greedy to charge in. I tell him he can smoke because the radar has been used, but I think it looks like he grounded and got torped. So I'm left in a 1 versus 3, which is of course unfortunate. I know Belfast doesn't have smoke at this point, and I mean radar because he used it fairly recently, but he will have it soon. So I need to break line of sight with him because, well, it's only a matter of time before he pops it, and when he does pop it, I don't want to be in his firing range, so to say. They also have 2 DDs, both which are fairly low, based on, well, I've seen their health bars. So this is not completely unwinnable, but it's going to be extremely difficult. Very, very difficult. And the difference, of course, here is that their Belfast has been continually playing with their DDs, whereas my team didn't really want to play with their DDs. So that makes life very, very hard. There's the radar I predicted, but by the time the radar hits, I have already broken line of sight, which means that while I'm spotted, yes, they know where I am, they cannot fire upon me. And of course, I'm using RPF constantly to give me an idea of their location. RPF is a perk I highly recommend for the Shiratsuyu because it gives you so much additional information. Now, something is closing in very, very quickly, and based on how quickly RPF is changing sectors, I do not believe it can be the Belfast. He would not have made it around that island that quickly. So it's one of the DDs. So I actually set up an ambush here where I turn all my guns and I just wait to see which DD it is that is chasing me. There we go, I'm spotted, and it's the Akatsuki. A bit too eager, a bit too greedy to get me killed. My ambush pays off thanks to RPF, and I get the easy kill. There's someone this way, as RPF pointed, so there's a high chance of torps, or someone sitting there waiting, perhaps the Belfast turning this way. So I send preemptive torps and I take it slow. I see torpedoes, so that already tells me that it's the Mayhem that's this way. That's good information. I know the Mayhem is this way now. RPF switches to the left. So that's probably... Let's see if RPF does another switch here. I'm almost looking as much as my screen as my RPF. My RPF is pointing heavily to the left now, very heavily. So I'm gonna assume that's the Belfast. You see how quickly it's turning left? The Mayhem couldn't have made it around the island that quickly. So I pop my final torpedo cooldown and I'm gonna torp towards B because I think the Belfast is trying to sail over to B. And that leaves most likely the Mayhem alone on A. And the Mayhem is running RPF, you see the located sign, which means he's RPF spotting me the entire time. So I'm gonna go for the cap here, but I need to be a bit careful because whereas I'm 90% certain that this is the Mayhem and not the Belfast, it's still a risk. It's still a risk, and I want additional confirmation before I take this fight, before I go in for this fight. B is being kept. Now I know they're split up. That's great. Thanks to RPF, I know they're split up. And there's a torpedo. That's all the confirmation I needed. That torpedo showing up now means that this has to be a Mayhem, because the Belfast, of course, doesn't have any torpedoes. So thanks to the information that I gained from the map, from RPF, and of course paying attention to the fact that yes, there's a torpedo and ship knowledge, I now know that the Mayhem is in the smoke and the Belfast is at B. So this additional information drives me, of course, to hunt him down. I need this kill, and I need to get this kill before the Belfast can show up. RPF is pointing into the smoke, so the Mayhem is still somewhere in the smoke. I need to kill him before the Belfast comes back from B and helps him out. Now, Magnizen chat is saying he might radar trap you if that's the Belfast, but obviously he doesn't. He didn't see the Torp, didn't pay attention to it, so he doesn't realize that there's no chance that this can be the Belfast. I know it's the Mayhem. Dropping preemptive Torps into the smoke, because I don't really need Torps. When it comes to DD fights, I have a pretty huge disadvantage here, mostly because the Mayhem is perfectly okay with trading me. The Mayhem can die as long as he gets Torps on me. He doesn't care, because they have a ship, they have an additional ship, so for him trading 1-for-1 is perfectly fine. Whereas I have to not just kill the Mayhem, but survive his Torps. And the Mayhem, of course, will happily go for any sort of YOLO play. And when we're this close range, it's quite hard to dodge Torps from someone who has basically nothing to lose. And worst of all is that I'm a Shiratsuyu, and in order to use my back turrets, I have to give a lot of broadside, and I have to make sure that all my guns hit. Okay, I'm proximity spotting him. He has 2.4k HP. I have 5k, but he has much better guns. So what this means is I need to land pretty much all my shells. So I have to give full broadside. I have to take the fight like this. Basically, I have to make sure I hit him with all my guns. Another issue is, of course, his RPF. He knows that I'm coming, so he might have launched preemptive torps. That's why I have to take this wide sweeping turn instead of like a sharp turn, because I have to be aware that he might have preemptively torped me. They are at 978 points now, so I have to go in and I have to make this play. I have no options at this point. And Mayhem is spotted. I do land all the hits and I get the kill, but the few hits that he lands here breaks my engine. You see, my engine is broken, and I notice it too late. Otherwise, I would have been able to stop in time to dodge those torpedoes, but I didn't notice my broken engine, because of course the 2 shells that he hit me would of course break my engine, and that caused me to glide into the torpedo. That's extremely frustrating, but I mean, there's no one to blame but myself. I was too focused on killing him and then preemptively torping the Belfast that was coming around the cliff on the other side, that I did not pay attention to my own broken modules. So no, in the end, no one to blame for my death than myself. I misplayed at the end. I should have used my repair instantly, but too focused on everything else that was going on. So sadly, unable to clinch the win here, but this game still showed a lot of good positional play, like the us DDs playing together to hunt theirs, and some bad plays like our cruiser and battleship pushing past the DD scouting line, and of course our Akatsuki running off alone scouting, torpedoes from behind friendlies, like a lot of, usually, sadly this showed a lot of bad plays, but it's good to see what the bad plays are, so you don't end up repeating them, because those are the kind of plays that get you killed and usually lose your team the game. Anyway, I did get my Kraken from this game. Looking at team score, well, thankfully I didn't lose a star since I got so much base XP, but unfortunately we did not manage to clinch the win in this one. Detailed report wise, not really too much to it. I mean, you usually don't end up doing too much damage in the Shiratsuyu. One of your main jobs is generally spotting, but games like these where your team doesn't understand to use you for your spotting is also quite frustrating, and sometimes when there's lack of spotting, it isn't even necessarily your fault, but it's the fact that your team refuses you to allow you to even do your job, like in this case. Anyway, let's move on to my recommended Shiratsuyu build. Alright, I'm moving on to the, first of all, consumables. Use the premium repair, highly recommended, especially if you're gonna play ranked. Premium damage control is very much worth it, and second of all, torpedo booster. It's more important than the smoke. Third priority, premium smoke, and engine boost is the least important. Upgrade wise, main armaments mod 1, pretty self-explanatory. Aiming systems mod 1, your A is joke. Smoke generator mod whatever is garbage. Propulsion mod, so you don't lose engine and glide into torps with your engine broken. And propulsion mod, because your rudder shift is already so fantastic that it's more important to try to keep your engine intact. Captain perks wise, well, actually I might as well max this captain out. I've been enjoying playing the Shiratsuyu in ranked, so I'm gonna max this one to a 19-point captain and get adrenaline rush for myself, since I really enjoy that perk. Anyway, moving on, of course, preventive maintenance. Last Stand, absolute must-have. Followed up by HP perk. The survivability is important, stay alive so you can spot. Concealment, so you can actually outspot them. RPF, so you can see where the enemy is coming from, you can help hunt down enemy DDs. It's just massively important in ranked. Torpedo armament to reduce the reload, and finally the last 2 points into adrenaline rush, because, well, getting another additional maybe even 15% reload on your torps if you take a bunch of damage is very, very useful. Anyway, that was my Shiratsuyu ranked analysis, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed it.